Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Nerds Order Music interview. Today, we are joined by the lovely gentleman of Whiteqube. What is up, you guys?
How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing great. Thank you guys for being here tonight.
Our pleasure.
Yeah,
Let's
thanks
get
for
started.
having us.
Of course. This is an honor. So, where did it all begin for you guys? Like, what got you two into music?
Wow, that's a big one.
That is a big one.
I guess I'll let Jason start with that one.
Oh boy. Well, I think that Ryan and I have both really been into music from a young age. I think that is a pretty accurate response. We both come from a time where we were into kind of similar things, a lot of like maybe 80s synth pop, like a Depeche Mode or something like that.
Mhm.
And then kind of going into the 90s where we were both heavily influenced by that kind of 90s rave electronica scene. And
Mhm.
I think that's kind of a mutual thing where our love of music starts. I mean, I'm sure our stories are different in terms of where we fell in love with music, but kind of as a shared beginning, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can kind of see behind me. I have all these guys of a certain age have Benno towers filled with CDs, and we are those guys. You know, like we definitely both. I think like in high school and stuff. I'm sure we were both spending all of our money on music.
Yeah.
For the most part, and Jason grew up in LA, so he had a little bit better access to good record stores and stuff like that. Like I would come down to LA on like drama class trips once a year, and you'd save up like $400 to go to Melrose and buy weird import CDs that I would never be able to find in my little podunk town, where I grew up. And but yeah, I think that's a good assessment. Like we were both kind of grew up listening to kind of electronic stuff, and then you want to talk a little bit about your professional life is in music in general, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say when I was in my early 20s, I became a DJ here in Los Angeles, kind of DJing all kinds of things and making my name here in Los Angeles. Where music became a real focus of my life. I guess, is that a good way of putting it?
Well, let me help him out here. So Jason was a DJ starting in like the late 90s or so, something like that, mid 90s.
Very well.
And like when I was in college, like I kind of dabbled into going to goth clubs and stuff like that. But definitely the clubs I was going to when I first moved to LA, Jason was one of the kind of main DJs at a lot of those like industrial and Britpop, kind of all those genres, and he also briefly had a record label, and so he was doing some releases. Like he put out stuff by Aesthetic Perfection and Comic Christ and stuff. So he definitely was involved in a lot of that stuff, and I was kind of just a hanger on. Like I was in the scene and I had friends, but I'm kind of a little bit obsequious for most goth people. Like I'm a little loud and obnoxious and stuff, and for whatever reason Jason that personality really meshed with him in a way that it didn't really with some other people. And so I kind of started hanging out in the DJ booth, and he's friends with the lady who is now my wife, and so we were all buddies, and we actually started playing Halo together, and that really was what kind of cemented our friendship, but a lot of that was in terms of us talking about like, oh, the KLF were awesome, or oh, what's your favorite Depeche Mode remix, or kind of weird things like that you can only have those kind of conversations with another person who's a big music nerd.
That's exactly
like
what I was going to say. Right. Yeah. We found out that we have our shared music nerdness that
like
really
we're the kind of guys that will both be like, Yeah, you know, it's if it's not 8 minutes long, it's not a 12-inch mix that I'm gonna. I need to listen to the whole thing and really analyze, you know, the EQ of the hi-hats around minute 4, you know, and
but like Ryan, what do you think? Top 10 remixes of 1991. What do you think?
And so then they would have a text chain back and forth all day, and I'd be like, oh damn, I forgot. Here, let me turn my phone off. My ring is going crazy. Might be I live in the boondocks, so you might have like bears and stuff out there. Who knows? But yeah, so I'd say that you know, that was kind of his background, and then I had done music and stuff, you know, kind of like garage bands and things like that, and took bass guitar and stuff, and done some remixes for like a different drum type American synth pop bands, but always just kind of like as a hobby. And you know, we were always just talking about this kind of music, and we have a mutual friend that kind of one day was like, man, you guys this is all you talk about, like why don't you just start making this kind of stuff? And so we sort of did it like as a goof. Like we sort of started off like, yeah, we'll just make some crazy 90s rave style dance songs, and you know, the kind of one thing sort of led to another, and we have a lot of friends in the scene here in LA, and so we booked a couple of shows, and
next thing you know it, we're playing in front of you with our friends VNV Nation, you know, and on tour.
Which is awesome and crazy, you know, but definitely sort of it's definitely a story of one thing sort of leading to another, I guess.
Is that a long enough winded answer for that simple question?
Very. What made you guys think of the name Whiteqube?
Well, when we first started out, we were definitely the thing that we were talking about a lot was that we were really inspired by 90s like Eurodance and rave and techno acts, and so we were like, when we were trying to explain our sound to people before we kind of had a name for ourselves, we were like, yeah, well, we're kind of like Black Box, but you know, we're two white guys, so we're not really Black Box. I guess we're more like Whiteqube, you know, like that was kind of the joke at the time.
And then my marketing side took over. I said, well, that's not cool.
Yeah, we can't say that.
We need to have a Q, and we just need to make it one word, you know, because it just looks good.
We need good SEO, so we need to spell cube with a Q.
Yeah,
you know?
And that was about the extent of that conversation. It's you know, I was reading an interview the other day or something like that, and they asked Dave Grohl, you know, because you know about the name Foo Fighter. He said it was just a joke from the beginning, and if I would have known that we would have become who we were, I would have never picked that name. And not that I feel the same way about Whiteqube, but it's the same kind of thing where we just kind of thought about it on a whim, and not really as a joke, but as more of a lighthearted attempt at it, and that's what stuck. But I do love the name though.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think it's kind of divorced now from the original joke, and it's just kind of who we are, you know, but that's the backstory.
Sure.
Yeah. So what's it like playing shows? Like, how's the experience?
I think it's awesome. For me, it's the best. It's the main reason that I make music is that I want to be on stage and be in front of an audience and connecting with people. I
have to tell you that, that's a very appropriate question, and it's a question I love to answer. Just in the times that we're living, it's a bit of a, you know, mind fuck, because it's like we haven't been on stage in a year and a half or something like that, and I almost forget what it's like, but I completely agree with Ryan that you know, when you have a show where everyone's kind of losing their minds and going crazy and cheering and dancing, it is the best feeling in the world, for sure. And you know, meeting people you know, who said, wow, I love what you do, is such an honor for us. So
yeah. And I think like, because people, a lot of times we'll do shows and people are just totally unfamiliar with who we are, and so there's no reason for them to be like hyped or excited, but then to see you kind of win them over, like you kind of feel like, wow, they're really and I'm always worried because we always tend to play these shows with, like, I would say maybe a little dark, like acts that are a little darker than we are, you know, like we're kind of more into the, we're a little more fun, and I'm always a little bit worried, like, oh man, are these goths gonna like, kick us out of town or something like that? But that has never happened.
Yeah.
Like, they always have a good time. Everybody's dancing, because that's kind of what we're about. Is like, oh, we're dancing and having fun, and we're, let's get everybody hyped up, and I remember we played a show in Arizona, and it was like 100 degrees, and at that time we were wearing the jacket. I don't know, did we wear the jackets?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw us with our LED jackets or not.
I saw those. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't really wear those as much anymore, because the technology has kind of advanced to the point that we actually don't have computers that can interface with them anymore. Like they take like an old type of Windows XP that we just is a hassle for us to, so we haven't quite figured that out. But
it's a long story.
At any rate, they're already very hot, and it was like 110 degrees in Arizona, and we're like jumping around, and we could barely do anything but really just kind of pay attention to what we're doing. And I remember like looking up, and there was just these dudes like right at the front of the stage, and they were just like banging on the stage, and man, they were just like raging so hard. And I really thought, like, wow, they're really into this, and that is a very cool feeling.
Yeah,
like, that's just like, you can't describe how exciting that is,
Yeah,
I could imagine.
we missed that, by the way.
Yeah.
When I first went to Toast Place and saw you guys, I didn't even know like who you guys were, and I'm just loving the music. Cause I grew up with like a lot of Daft Punk, Deadmau5, stuff like that.
Yeah,
a lot of metal.
We love all that
well.
stuff.
Yeah. I'm into all genres. I can go from classical and EDM one into death metal the next. I can go to all genres. And
we
I
were
was
the same way.
I'd say we're definitely in the same boat there for sure. Yeah.
I wasn't knowing what to expect, and I'm just like, I'm really digging this. That's why I actually bought a CD. I don't know where it is right now. I have to find it. But I got the CD from the one you guys were selling that day, and I played the hell out of it.
Wow.
I'd love to hear that.
That's cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
My biggest regret now is I don't know where it is. I just got some new speakers I really want to test it on. But it's like, I gotta find it.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
and I don't know, like, are all those songs on Spotify
Yeah,
now?
they should be.
Yeah, so they're out there somewhere, Yeah.
I'll definitely look. I'll find them tonight. I mean, it does have Bluetooth after all, so.
Ooh, buddy.
All right. So, what is the music making process for you guys?
Well,
That's a good question too. It's changed over time, because there was a while, it's actually when you saw us, I was living in Montreal, Canada, and Jason was back in LA. And so at that point, we were really doing a lot of stuff remotely, like passing files back and forth. And so at that point, it was a lot different than it has been in recent
tough.
years.
That was a tough process for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, generally speaking, we usually have an idea. Sometimes one of us would come up with a general, it could be any small idea. It could be a loop. It could be an idea of something maybe like another song or in something like that. Or maybe one of us has been tooling around and have a minute of a basic framework of a song. And then we both sit down together and try to work out where we want to go with that. I think no matter how we've done it, it's always been like that. Maybe some of us have even maybe come up with an entire song where we sit down and retweak it a little bit or things like that. I think that's generally what has gone on.
You end up with a lot of like kind of bits and pieces that end up getting reassembled and assembled, and it kind of becomes hard to tell, like, oh, is this more of a Ryan song? Is this more of a Jason song? Like, it all gets kind of mashed together. And a lot of times you have ideas where you're like, man, this song isn't working the way that we want it to. And then you'll think, oh, what about that weird vocal sample that we had? Why don't we pull that in and put that here? And there's a lot of that kind of stuff where it's like these kinds of pieces, these puzzle pieces that are getting put together in a way, as we're working on songs and stuff like that. And
then we always would just come together and, write vocals or do things like that, where we're in the same room saying, oh, well, why don't we try it this way or something like that. Yeah.
I think that with Jason's background as a DJ, he really has a sense for like song structure and like building build, like, you know, kind of ascending and descending kind of action of a song, you know. And so a lot of times that's, you know, we'll be kind of putting something together, and then Jason will be like, okay, well, I'll take this, and just, you know, he kind of does his, you know, little kind of DJ magic on it, where he'll put the the intro beats and the, you know, the kind of stuff that'll make it work better in the club. I think that's kind of something that he has a real good sense for. And I think in some ways, probably I'm a little more responsible for like melody or, you know, that kind of aspect of, but that's very generalized, because I'd say we both have worked on songs, and we've kind of been doing more songs with vocals lately too. I think touring with V&V for me really was a big eye opener in terms of how much vocals are a way to connect with your audience, you know, like I think that, and I don't know, I just feel like, yeah, we should be doing some more of that, and just kind of doing more than just these instrumental songs, which are great too, but you know, it's kind of another aspect of songwriting, you know. So yeah, I don't know, that's another kind of long-winded response.
Hey, long-winded responses are the best ones, especially with all the detail you guys have been giving me. I love it. My next question is, who would you guys love to collaborate with, whether it be touring, in the studio, all the above?
That is a huge list.
Do you have about 3 hours?
You need a time machine, you know.
I mean, there's so many things that we're both into. I mean, you know, I always say, you know, kind of my go-to is always Nine Inch Nails. I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. We both are. Someone like a Nine Inch Nails would be like the number one dream. But you know, I mean, it's I mean, if we could work with, you know, even the people you talk with, I mean, someone like, you know, Dead Mouse, who we've been fans of for a long time, or I mean, unfortunately Daft Punk is no longer, but
I know, I got so heartbroken. I'm like,
too. No. But I mean, you know,
well,
Daft Punk
maybe we could break up and we'll each take one member of Daft Punk, and then we'll make a weird
that's good
collaboration.
Really weird too. But you know, like Daft Punk is kind of a thing that Ryan and I have really been into a long time. And then there's a slew of local bands from LA, and there's there's techno acts, that I could give you a list of techno guys who I think would be really cool to work with, anywhere from Boys Noise to someone like Thomas Heckman or something like that. Or there's, we're also into, things like Underworld, would be like, Underworld would be like a dream come true, something like that. And I'm sure we can give you a zillion other things of everything in between too,
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe something, even, I think you mentioned like local stuff, but bands like Youth Code and Health and like all those kinds of like people that are making music nowadays that are a little darker. Like I definitely would like to do remixes and stuff. I've always been hype on like this idea of like getting into the remix culture and having people remixing our stuff and us remixing their stuff. And, like the guys, like the Clack guys or something like that, I don't know.
Nice. I love that. So my next question is, what is the best piece of advice you were ever given when starting music?
Maybe something related to like finishing stuff. Maybe, I don't know.
That's a very good question. I'm trying to think. I feel like Daniel told us something once that really stuck. I'm trying to think of what exactly the way he phrased that. I mean, I would say that, and I'm not exactly sure who told us, but to just do music kind of from the heart of, just do what you feel is what you want to do is very important,
or like what the kind of music that you want to hear,
Right.
you know, or like
Yeah.
if it's, you know, if you're really fighting yourself because you're trying to make music that you think you should be making, or that you feel like, oh, it needs to sound like this, but that's not coming from a place of truth and, you know, whatever, then it's, you know, that's going to come off as something that's fake, I guess.
And we've also learned a lot of technical things over the years where it's like, hey, just don't slap everything on top of each other or something like that, you know,
or always bring a backup, you know, always bring a backup drive.
Yeah, for sure. Things like that, for sure.
Make sure that you are very sure, you're very clear on which dressing room is yours, so you don't hang out in the other artist's dressing room and drink all their beer and then act like, why are you guys just hanging out in my dressing room?
Not that has happened to us.
And then you find out halfway
once,
through the show, like, oh, this isn't even my dressing room, and there's a whole other empty dressing room that's filled with undrunk beer, and these guys think that I'm the jerk.
Well, certainly that would never happen to us.
That's
more than once. Yes,
that's something that I've heard has happened. Exactly.
Right.
I mean, what about always man your own merch booth. You know, don't expect somebody else to man your merch booth. You know, you be there to meet the fans.
Well, that is something that I would say, coming from my background, is, to me, and this is something that Ryan and I have talked a lot about. So maybe it's advice that I've given to myself, but at the end of the day, you are the most important part of this. The fan is the most important part, because without the fan, it doesn't really matter what music you're making. So not only do you treat your fans right, but there has to be a connection there. There has to be something, or else it's not cool, you know? And so we've always really tried to put that forward and try to be as best as we can in terms of that. And I think that's very important, you know, that thing. There's a lot of lessons to be learned that have nothing to do with music themselves. You know, it's about, you know, how you treat the people who are supporting you. And that's important.
Yeah,
definitely. I think connecting with the fans is very important, and it helps build the bond between the musician and the listener.
Sure.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
My final question of the evening is, what is next for Whiteqube?
Wow.
Well, now this is going to be something that's kind of shocking, but this is actually the first time Ryan and I have sat in the same room together in a year. Obviously because of COVID. And I think that as it has affected the entire world, it certainly has affected us. And you know, and we have not, you know, we've been really not really been working too much as of late.
No.
And it's you know, and that's really has nothing to do with anything else except for just the circumstances we're all living in. So I'm glad that you know, things in LA here are starting to finally feel a little bit better, and with the vaccinations and all that stuff. And you know, the fact that here we're sitting together here is, at least for, I could speak for myself, it gives me a lot of promise that we're going to start really hitting the studio and kind of evolving a lot of ideas that have been circulating over the last year or so. And you know, kind of reignite this rocket, so to speak, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that we're both interested in continuing to make music and hopefully play some shows. And we've, you know, in the time since you saw us, we've definitely, I think, gotten a little kind of deeper into like some like techno sounds. Like our sounds are not quite as EDM as they were then. You know, and so I think as we kind of think about those things, then, you know, that makes us well, oh yeah, let's get in the studio and put these ideas down and see what we can come up with.
And I know, you know, right before COVID started, we were really starting to do that. And it's kind of too bad that it just kind of hit at a time when we were really had a lot of things kind of starting to really build, you know, we had songs done and we had things that were really starting to put forward, and then it just kind of hit us with a bit of a. We had to put a pause on everything, sadly. But you know, I'm sure we will be getting back into things shortly.
2020 was a long year for everyone.
It sure was.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It sucked.
Yeah.
That year was terrible.
I don't even know. We have one thing we can plug though. I don't know if you're familiar with the website I Die You Die. It's like a music blog, but they put out periodically they put out a compilation for charity called the Telecompilation, and we had a song that came out on the 3rd volume, which was maybe about 6 months ago, something like that.
Probably.
Maybe a little
longer than that. Yeah, maybe about 8 months ago. Yeah.
And that's up on their Bandcamp, the idieyoudied.com Bandcamp. But we are also going to have a remix, the 10th anniversary remix of our song Reverse Psychology by my friend Miles. It is going to be coming out on the 4th Telecompilation, which they're taking submissions for that in the next couple of weeks. So I think that's probably coming out in June, and proceeds of all that will go to charities. So if you're a Whiteqube fan or a fan of, you know, dark music, industrial music,
and they always have great stuff on there, from a lot
great
of
bands.
unknown artists, a lot of kind of up and coming artists, and so they do such a great job on that blog. We love to support them.
Yeah.
I'll have to go check them out today. I have to. I'm all about music after all.
Yeah, it's a great site for music fans.
They have a blog and they have like a podcast, and we love those guys because they sit around kind of like we do, and just talk about music and what they
argue
love.
about the best coil vinyl, you know, the best version of a coil vinyl, to, you know, like
whatever it is.
Was it the 2003 pressing with the orange label, or, you know, whatever?
I don't. Yeah, and they love giving reviews, and they love just really supporting a lot of the artists that we love. You know, so yeah, those guys are great.
I will have to check them out. I love music of all types, so I gotta look that up later. I have to. You got me excited.
Cool. Sweet.
Yeah, they really mostly deal with like in the industrial-ish stuff, but they always deviate into other kinds of things too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Thank you guys very much for your time. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you asking us. And
thanks for having us. Thanks for being a fan.
Yeah. And we hope we can see you in your hometown sooner than later, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, next time you guys schedule a show for Connecticut, let me know and I'll rush down there as soon as I can.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look forward to it.
Honestly, when I first went to Toad's place, that was actually my very first time going there, and I didn't know what to expect. And I'm so happy I went, honestly.
And now are they still with us? I hope.
I think they are.
Yeah.
I think they're still going. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I haven't been anywhere since the pandemic hit. Like, I just got my first vaccine. My second one's on Monday. I'm hoping I can start going back outside again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's been very slow here too. So I remember, I'm going to say in Connecticut, I believe that I went out and got me a nice large Frank Pepe's pizza.
Ooh.
I love Frank Pepe's.
And enjoyed and I didn't want to get too stuffed before the show because we jump around a lot. So I ate like a slice there, and I had to put a big sign on it saying, "This is my pizza, no one touch it." And we got back, and it was it was there in its entirety, and I had a great dinner that night. So.
The tour was definitely for us, I think, mostly about tasting local pizzas and delicious
burgers.
Foods. Yeah.
So yeah, I love looking forward to being back in Connecticut. It was good times there.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, speaking of pizza, a new pizza place just opened up in Connecticut. It's called Tom and Jerry's, and everyone's raving about it.
Wow.
The thing I thought of was the cat and mouse, really. But
yeah, that seems like a little weird for a pizza place.
But apparently everyone's raving about it, and I'm trying it soon because I want to see what all the raves about. But I'll let you guys know how it tastes.
Thanks. Yeah, I would. That sounds good. By
Keep
the way.
us posted. Yeah.
Love some pizza.
So when you guys come back in Connecticut, I'll let you know.
Sure thing. You
Sounds
got it.
good.
All right. This has been another Nerds Order Music interview. Today, our guests were the gentlemen of Whiteqube.
And we are nerds. That's for sure.
What you say?
And we are nerds. That's for sure.
We are. That's what we're called. Nerds Order. It's not just me. Three of us run this, and we all do our own different segments. I run everything music. They run comics, movies, stuff like that.
Awesome.
So we're all in different categories.
You can see I have my comic book boxes back here too. So
Nice. I have
maybe that fits into that segment too.
Actually, the room we're in, I wish you could see,
Yeah, it's
is
very
so
nerdy.
full of nerd stuff you won't even
Dude.
believe.
Behind me as well. Like I got my records, my
Nice.
cabinet. I got manga. I got arcade machine. Extreme nerd.
Love it. Love it.
In this room, there is every retro video console ever made, I believe. Is
Oh,
in
that's
this
awesome.
room.
Close. Definitely pretty close.
It's pretty close, yeah.
I have an NES myself, so I know the feeling.
All right. Well,
Sweet.
we're in good company here.
All right, you guys.
Sorry, we didn't mean to.
I know you're trying to finish,
Oh, no,
but
it's
we got
fine.
excited about
Hey,
nerd
I'll
stuff.
be up.
What
I'll
can
be
we
up
say?
listening anyway. It's like what 8:30 here. I'll be up anyway.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right, you guys have an awesome night and take care.
Thank you. You too.
All right. We'll see you later.
See ya.
You are out of time.